Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining us today. We are going to be calculating the area of our circle when our radius is given to us as a decimal number and our pi is equal to 22/7. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. So we are going to be calculating the area of our circle today. And our pi in this case is going to be 22/7, and our radius is given to us as a decimal number. Now, when thinking about this example, I thought it would be nice to put together some of the things or some of the areas that some students tend to struggle with, and that's with working with decimal numbers and fractions together in one question. So let's begin. We're going to start as always. Remember to always write your formula out first. So that kind of keeps you focused on what you should be doing as you work through your question. And next, let's apply our substitution. So we know that pi is 22/7. Our radius in this case is a decimal number of 4 and 5/10. And remember that's all being squared. So that means both the 4 and the 5 is being squared in this number. And let's work that out at the side. So we have our 4 and 5/10 all being squared. And like I said, remember that the entire number is not being squared and not just the 5 alone. So we have 4 and 5/10 being multiplied to 4 and 5/10. And let's get through our calculations. So we're going to begin multiplying with our 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. We have our 5. We're going to carry the 2. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 2 will give us 22. We're going to now add in our 0 and begin multiplying by our 4. So 4 times 5 is 20. Put your 0, carry the 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 will equal to 18. Let's sum our numbers together. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 2 will equal to 10. We'll put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Now remember that we did calculate decimal numbers, so we're going to go back to our original numbers that we multiply and to input our decimal point. Let's count each digit behind the decimal point in our numbers. So in our first 4.5, we have one digit behind the decimal point. In the second one, we also have one digit. And when we sum those numbers together, we have a total of 2 digits behind the decimal point. So we count 1, 2 in our answer, placing our decimal point right between our 0 and our 2. So our radius when squared in this question is going to be 20 and 25 hundredths. And we are going to substitute that back in the equation now. And remember that we are only replacing the number that we got for our square. We're not changing anything else. So we input that answer in. And now we're going to simplify our decimal number and our fraction. Now, one thing I need you to remember is that if you are working with a number like how we have 20 and 25 fifths, remember you can always add the 1 in the decimal, in the denominator of that number to help you out. But remember that even if you do not add the 1 in, remember that our 20 and 25 hundredths is being multiplied to 22. And our 7 is remaining in the denominator. Okay, so let's work these two numbers out. We have 20 and 25 hundredths being multiplied by 22. And remember that this is multiplication. So whichever number you chose to multiply with, you should still arrive at the same answer. I'm just choosing to use 22 because 22 is the easier number in this case to be my multiplier. So 5 times 2 is 10. I'll put my 0, carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is going to give me 5. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is going to give me 5. 2 times 0 is equal to 0. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Let's add in our 0 and begin multiplying by my second 2. And remember that the same answer we got for the first row, we should also get for this line as well. So 5 times 2 is 10. We put our 0, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 will equal to 5. 2 times 0 is equal to 0. And 2 times 2 is equal to 4. We're summing our numbers now. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 0 is equal to 5. 0 plus 5 is equal to 5. 4 plus 0 is equal to 4. And we're going to bring down our last 4. And just like we did when we calculated our radius, we're going to go back to our numbers and count how many digits are behind the decimal point. And in our first number, we have 2 digits behind the decimal point. In my 22, there is no digits behind the decimal point. So when we sum these numbers, I have 2 digits that should be behind my decimal point. So I'll count 1 for the 0, 1 for my first 5, and then input that decimal point right between my 2 5s. So now that we have simplified our numerator, I will plug that answer into my numerator. So I have 445 and 5/10. Remember that you can feel free to add the 0 if you need to, but you don't have to. But since we are going to be moving into division, I will leave the 0 there because more than likely I will use it. So now let's calculate our area, and we're going to bring our answers all home at this point. So we are dividing our 7 into our 445 and 5/10 or 50/100, however way you decided to write your number out. So 7 can divide into 4. We're going to add in our 0 as our placeholder. We're now going to divide 7 into 45, which will equal to 6. 6 times 7 gives us 42. 45 minus 42 gives us a difference of 3. We're going to bring down our 5, changing our 3 into 35. 7 divides into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 is equal to 35. 35 minus 35 equals to 0. We're going to bring down our 5. 5 divides into 7 0 times. 0 times 7 is equal to 0. 5 minus 0 is equal to 5. I'm going to bring down that 0. Change 5 into 50. 7 divides into 50 7 times. 7 times 7 is equal to 49, and 50 minus 49 gives us a difference of 1. And because 7 is one of those numbers that typically gives us a non-terminating decimal number, I am going to stop dividing at this point. Remembering that if you line up your numbers correctly above your digits as you divide it, you know that your decimal point will move right up between the 5 and the 0. But if you are one of those persons in your division who typically do not line up your numbers, remember that you're going to have to make sure that you input that decimal point as you complete your working. So my area for this question, I'm going to leave it as 65 7/100, and that's kilometers squares, and I will indicate that this is the 2 digits behind the decimal point. Okay, so there you have it. We just calculate the area of our circle when we're using a decimal number, and our pi is equal to 22/7. So make sure that you get some additional practice in. Remember that as you continue to work through these questions and you begin to master these skills, even though I have a lot of working here, you probably won't need to have as much working as me. But as always, practice, develop your skills, and I will see you right here in the next video on Jules Math Tools, where we aim to make math easy.